It's my great pleasure to welcome my friend and brilliant Burchfield scholar, Nancy Whitley.
Thank you, Carol. So my inquiry into the fascinating subject of synesthesia surrounds the 20th century artist Charles E. Burchfield, who did not know the term. He expressed this gift in his writing and artworks, such as Brooke's song Echoing and the mechanical whine of sound from vibrating telegraph wires. I've had the honor of presenting at 3 American Synesthesia Association conferences where participants agreed Burchfield was plausibly synesthetic. The first time was in 2008, when his work was exhibited in Synesthesia, Art and the Mind, organized by the McMaster University Museum of Art in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. It was here that I first heard Patricia Albergs present on Joan Mitchell's synesthesia. After her book was published, I read Lady Painter, which informed my essay about Mitchell's painting Begonia for the Castellani Art Museum at Niagara University. Great curators, Greta Berman and Carol Steen, provided a synopsis of early synesthesia studies by Kluver and Anschutz, who sought to define a visual taxonomy of shapes, but Burchfield never heard about them. He intended viewers to share his experiences with visceral and emotional empathy. Utilizing color and form, he could make you feel the sun's warmth or the wind's bite. He wanted you to hear nature, not just see it. The first evidence emerges in 1915 when he wrote, "Yesterday morning, while on my way to school, in the rain, I marked that the color of autumn seemed to have come all at once. Walking under the trees, I felt as if the color made sound." Studying at the Cleveland School of Art between 1912 and 1915, he worked as a guard at the Hatch Galleries and became mesmerized by Chinese scroll paintings that depict the progression of time within a single image. During the summer of 1915, just before his senior year, at the age of 22, he produced countless all-day sketches that spontaneously tracked weather events, as in this example of a new mode of expressing storm. In 1915, Burchfield also began interpreting music in visual terms. His spontaneous sketches of, quote, abstract hieroglyphics to represent music, while listening to live concerts of Verdi and Wagner operas, show shapes, patterns, and notations, such as bright colors, weird wriggles, silence, weird colors, colors unseeing serenade, and discords of colors. He realized that he was to be a composer of colors with rhythms. Burchfield called 1917 his golden year, acknowledging a highly productive and innovative era. He conceived conventions for abstract thoughts, which are seminal drawings to symbolize psychological moods, thereby manifesting visual images with intangible equivalents. Inspired by Chinese art, he determined to formulate a set of conventions based on nature, as other great artists had done, adding, except that mine were to be completely my own. The Museum of Modern Art's famous painting, The Night Wind, features the fear of loneliness, insanity, and morbid brooding to depict a frightening winter storm. You can hear the howling blizzard squall. The Cleveland Museum of Art's nightmarish church bells ringing rainy winter night incorporates 7 conventions in this childhood memory, notably featuring fear for the terrifying sounds coming from the belfry. That these are synesthetic is suggested in his comment. Although these conventions seem to be on first glance like pure inventions, most of them actually evolved from a visual experience. During this period of uninhibited experimentation, Burchfield also recorded natural and man-made sounds with visual motifs that I call audio cryptograms. The insect chorus visualizes nature's cacophony. Treetops radiate cicada trills. Huge black swirls of fear suggest a giant cicada's head hidden in shrubbery. A high, shrill, pinpoint cricket chorus dominates the foreground. You can see he derived the pattern by kind of riffing on cricket anatomy. Each distinctive sound has a coordinating audio cryptogram. After his World War I service in the US Army, when he designed camouflage, Burchfield ceased to create such vividly symbolic work. He moved to Buffalo, married, designed wallpapers, and nurtured a family of 5 children until 1929, when he quit to become an independent artist. Frank Wren started representing his art in New York City, and Edward Hopper became a colleague. Typically for the 1930s, he produced saleable representational paintings of the American experience. But Burchfield's fantastical representation of sound did not resurface until 1943, when at the age of 50, he yearned to recapture his youthful imagination in larger, more complex animated paintings. In Autumnal Fantasy, a nuthatch utters his penetrating call, which echoes and re-echoes throughout the woods. Song of the Telegraph depicts a telegraph harp, an idea he borrowed from Thoreau. Burchfield wrote, "There are few sounds that are as wild and elemental as the music of the telegraph wires, that stirs the blood as much and fill the listener with such vague but intense yearning for he knows not what. Loud cawing crows are amplified as clouds. Audio cryptograms for the Aeolian harp and reverberating wooden poles appear as black, blue, and white radiating patterns." In studies for the painting In the Deep Woods, he captured the elusive veery thrush song, wondering if the note should be vivid rubies with accents of pure emerald and very hot, sickening yellow-green. For the exhibition Bird Song, audio-visual art by Charles E. Burchfield, we collaborated with Gavin Layton, an assistant professor of biology at SUNY Buffalo State, who compiled bioacoustics with permission of the Macaulay Library, operated by the Cornell Lab of Ornithology. Thanks to advances in scientific technology, we can see birdsong in colors and wavelengths that Burchfield could only imagine. In her 1955 interview, Laverne George noted that Burchfield hears the opening of Mozart's Paris Symphony as pure yellow notes, loves to play it in the morning. For 2 Mozart record albums, he made the backs yellow because it seemed to him that the music is symbolized by that color, and he intended to make each major composer a different color. The radically conceptual Lightning and Thunder at Night from 1920 features jagged lightning bolts, black sky, and rumbling thunder. In 1961, it is reimagined as The Moth and the Thunderclap. A Cecropia moth acts as a realistic foil to an ear-piercing jolt of thunder, inseparable from blinding flashes of pink lightning. In 1930, Burchfield associated this childhood memory with Sibelius's Second Symphony, writing, "Its power and beauty overwhelms me. What a magnificent genius is Sibelius. In this elemental music, pictures and ideas pour in upon me. My joy is almost too great to be borne." Burchfield often referenced Beethoven and Sibelius as inspirations, hoping to achieve in his painting the same grandeur that they showed in their symphonies. He identified with Sibelius after reading Carl Ekman's biography in 1938, writing, "I find a few parallels in our careers. He lost his father at 2.5, I at 4. He was deeply interested in nature lore as a boy, and collected butterflies, etc. Interesting to know is that as a young man, he saw tones in terms of color. Scholars have since declared Sibelius to be synesthetic. Scent was another trigger. In 1944, he wrote to his dealer, Frank Wren, "I feel happier than I've felt in years. I'm going to give you more sounds and dreams, and yes, I'm going to make people smell what I want them to, and with visual means." Two drawings in a folder titled The Fragrance of Spring corroborate the idea. A pastel aura of diffused floral aromas and wavy, decayed leaf odors emanating from the forest floor celebrate the onset of spring. Hepatica's perfume force winter to retreat into the wood's black depths. Burchfield's daughter, Catherine, was a cellist and artist who unknowingly inherited her father's synesthesia. We can see it in her paintings, first publicly presented in the exhibition Theme and Variations. Some, like Inspired by Bach, Cello Suite No. 1, are pure, joyous colors and shapes, while those inspired by Sibelius depict northern landscapes. She seemed to be drawn to the music of synesthetic composers, such as her response to Messiaen, Quartet for the End of Time. Where we really see her synesthesia is in response to Tavener, Wake Up and Die. Tavener's composition is structured like a palindrome to convey the concept that life and death are metaphysically synonymous. One leads back to the other, and the cycle begins again. Catherine said she was riveted by the cello passage that quickly descends a chromatic scale in a repeated motif that penetrates bone deep. Ligeti's own description of his viola sonata includes a mysteriously alien sound created by deliberately unconventional fingering. We're reminded of Georgia O'Keeffe's musical abstractions and Foghorns by Arthur Dove. They were two of the artists shown in Sensory Crossovers, Synesthesia in American Art, curated by Sharon Udall in 2010, with my contribution on Burchfield. It was a major investigation of both historic and living artists. I'd like to share a few examples of people I know who respond to Burchfield's synesthetic art, even when their practice is quite different. Mimi Dow is a retired educator and museum docent who realized she was synesthetic at the age of 40. She took a class from Carol Chomsky. Her descriptions of months having shapes compares to Pat Duffy's, although hers are different, of course. And she was not familiar with Daniel Tammet, but like him, she sees numbers as specific shapes and colors. She traced on a tabletop how they loop together in progressive curves, starting with individual colors for 1 to 10, but then the 20s are shades of yellow and 30s are blue, and it goes on with different tones. And words have color when she sees them in her head. Buffalo is dark gray blue. And music produces color too. For her, Mozart is blue-black. Museum intern Bernadette Sheridan sent me this graphing synesthesia picture of my name as she saw it. Gregory Corso sees my name differently. Born in France, he's a musician, illustrator, creator of short animated videos, and a professor in Berlin. As I toured him through a Burchfield exhibition, we started an ongoing conversation about his synesthesia. And for him, the colors in Nancy shift like scenery in his mind, with a feeling of quietude expressing a character. And we share the letter Y, which has a high color, it's shiny, he noted. I met Carrie Furman in 2011 when we exhibited her Synesthetic Library, a flash-based interactive collection of her visual synesthetic reactions to ordinary sounds. And I wanted to play, if I can.
There, hit the arrow. Yep, you're playing.
And she experiences hers as, whoops. Okay. So I'm not used to a Mac. I'm trying to get to the next slide. Okay, as a sound and visual synesthete, Furman has presented internationally, but since she's not here today, I wanted to play the beginning of her collaborative video, Silent Lights, inspired by the Northern Lights in Norway in 2019, and the pianist, composer, and visual to sound synesthete, Svetlana Rudenko, wrote and performed the audio track traced based on her perception of Carrie's visual sound. Let's see if this triggers. It's really quite beautiful. I urge you to go on YouTube and see the whole thing. Okay, 1 minute left. Mike Lear's paintings and drawings of bird songs, floral scents, and nature's dynamism will be paired with Burchfield's in our upcoming exhibition, A Grammar of Animacy, based on Robin Wall Kimmerer's books, Braiding Sweetgrass, and her concept about the linguistic attributes of her native Potawatomi language. 70% of the words are verbs, such as to be a hill, to be red, and to be a long, sandy stretch of beach. These verbs describe the ceaseless exchange between all things, a concept that we liberally compare to synesthesia. In 2011, when he was painting in New Zealand, Mike said, "The wind came up and unceremoniously tossed my easel to the ground. I stopped painting and decided to draw the wind. As Burchfield knew so well, I realized at this moment that perception of the living world is never simply visual, but is always a summation of the senses. Now when I go outside to draw and paint, I close my eyes first and listen and smell and touch what is around me before I open my eyes to complete the inventory." Through Burchfield, I've met dozens of original and synesthetic creators. I hope through exhibitions, publications, and presentations like this, we'll continue to exchange multisensory ideas to enrich our lives. And I thank you for the opportunity to share a few with you.
So, if we have some questions for Nancy? Greta. First of all, brava. If there can be any doubt in anybody's mind. But my question is, he came back and he did a lot of things later on that he had done earlier. And I wonder if that has anything to do with time and space, synesthesia, and the things we were talking about before, because to take a work that you did 20, 30, 40 years earlier and come back and continue it is a little strange.
That's a great idea. I hadn't looked at it that way. Part of it was that he kind of repressed his synesthesia, I think, to make his works saleable during the 30s and up into the 40s. But during World War II, he wasn't selling anything. So he thought, what he was doing is getting boring. I want to go back to what I want to do. And then he felt free to express himself. I'm going to look into that space and time.
Yeah. Well, thank you. This was wonderful to have the chance to learn about all these artists and their synesthesia. And I wanted to know more about Catherine Parker. You may have said it already, but where is her work displayed? Do we know what museum?
Well, we have a number of her pieces in our Buffalo Museum, the Burchfield Penney Art Center. A lot of it is collected around the region, around Buffalo, not so much outside of the region. Thank you for asking. Any other questions? Good, thank you.
Thanks very much.